It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. Today, we welcome a former standout from the hardwood ranks. After a standout college career at California, he was drafted by the Vancouver Grizzlies, 3rd overall in a star-studded 1996 NBA draft. He spent 5 years in Vancouver and blossomed into an all-star with the franchise, as he led the team in both scoring and rebounding. He then played for the Atlanta Hawks and Portland Trail Blazers before joining his last team, the Sacramento Kings. An NBA All-Star selection in the 2001-2002 season, he also played on the United States men's team that won the gold medal at the 2000 Sydney Olympics.
Abdur-Rahim hustling inside, Shareef off the glass. Abdur-Rahim again. Oh, yes! Abdur-Rahim will face up, fill it up. He's got 35 on the night.
This is for the win.
Today, he serves as the president of the NBA's G League. We now welcome Shareef Abdur-Rahim to this live stream of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's Listen In with KNN, the sports sound of the district. We bring you the biggest guests, great analysis, and the hottest sports stories in the nation's capital and beyond. And we bring it to you live. Welcome to this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN. Here's your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson.
All right. Hello, everyone, and good morning. Happy Thursday. I hope your morning is off to a fantastic start. Thanks so much for joining. I know we're used to doing this in the evenings, but look, we transition and we pivot much like we do in sports. So very excited to welcome in my very special guest today. It's perfect timing to have him on. We're all watching the Olympics. We're in the midst of NBA free agency. So I had to bring in someone that knows basketball pretty well and knows it to the top level. And I'm so excited today to be joined by none other than NBA G League president. He's also an Olympic gold medalist and an NBA All-Star. He is none other than Shareef Abdur-Rahim, and he's joining me live now. And again, just so excited to have him. Get your questions in. I appreciate you all joining me. And don't forget, we're back later this evening with a pre-show before the NFL Hall of Fame game. So yeah, basically it's the perfect time for sports fans as we have so much to cover. So without further ado, please help me welcome in Shareef. Shareef, how are you today? Good morning.
Good morning, Kelsey.
It's our pleasure. You're doing good, right? I saw you dancing in the background, Shareef.
So the intro, the go-go music, I could feel the DC vibe, so it got me going a little bit.
I'm glad to hear that. When you've been to DC, have you had a chance to really experience DC culture? You knew about go-go music, which makes me proud, Shareef.
Yeah, no doubt. So at Cal, my college coach was Todd Bozeman, and
yes,
on his staff as well was Charles Payne, so both DC guys. And then it feels like somewhere in my career, early in my career in Vancouver, I played with Lawrence Moulton, DC. Yeah. Just throughout my career, different friends, different guys, stops. And then traveling, of course, I've had the opportunity to experience the go-go music.
Yeah.
And then, tribute from the Wizards G League team, the go-go.
Correct, yeah. And I'll tell you, we were so excited to hear that name in DC because it paid tribute to the true culture of DC. So many natives of Washington, DC were just have to have that. But I'm glad you know go-go music. I'm glad it made you feel good. It's a great way to start the morning. And speaking of that, I love to start off my shows with a wellness check, of course, because mental health is important. So I want to ask you, how are you feeling? How are you doing? How's your family?
We're doing well, thank you for that, Kelsey. We're doing well, and everyone is hanging in. So thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Look, I'm blessed. I have my health. Again, it's a perfect time for sports fans, Shareef. So I'm glad. Speaking of which, I'm sure you've been watching the Olympics. I've seen your tweets. Is Team USA making you proud, Shareef? Are they living up to your expectations and standards?
They are, and I think they're showing some resilience. It's a difficult year overall. I think what people have to remember is, really these guys are like a 18-month, 24-month span of just basketball. Many of them, you see it with Devin Booker and some of the guys coming from the finals, but they didn't get a break. And our players didn't get a break. So you just see that. So I think you have to take that in consideration and realize I think they're at the right time now, semifinals, headed into the finals, hitting their stride.
Yeah, and hitting their stride at the right time. Because we have faith, Shareef. We want them to do what you all did, right? We want that gold medal back home. So something that we're all excited to continue to watch. And also recently we had the NBA draft. The G League players look pretty good, Shareef, in it. I know that has to make you happy as president, right?
Yeah, we did really well.
They represented.
They did. With Jalen, going number 2 and Jonathan Kuminga, 7, and then we had Isaiah Todd, who drafted by the Wizards, the first pick of the second round. So we're in our inaugural season. We're proud of what we've been able to do, and then we just want to be able to continue to create that platform for the players coming behind them. Yeah, I'm really excited for them.
We are rooting for them. And again, they represent it, and I'm excited to see them come this NBA season. And the NBA is going to look a lot different, Shareef. I know you've been following free agency, so just a lot of moves and a lot of pieces that we will all be closely looking at. But to that, let's talk about the G League. So I would love if you could talk about your role as president of the NBA G League, and of course, just kind of the current agenda of the league in just terms of overall marketability and development in the long term for the league.
Yeah, so in my role with the G League, as president of the G League, I oversee both the business and the basketball operations, and then the overall strategy and vision of how we move forward. Our core principle where we started as a league was in being a place for people to grow and develop, and primarily we think of players that have come through our league. So in the past, it's been players like Fred VanVleet and Pascal. We saw Chris Middleton this year, all players that got their start. But then there's also officials, there's also coaches. Quinn Snyder, for example, started in the G League. Young professionals, broadcasters, so on and so forth. So a platform of development. But then more and more as the NBA has evolved, we see our G League becoming more international, right?
Which is huge.
Right, younger. So as a league, we want to continue to evolve, continue to be on the forefront of how basketball is changing, the needs of our players, our young players more and more looking for options and opportunities beyond just the traditional path. So that's where the Ignite program comes in, and more and more that's our mandate, that's our initiative, is to continue to grow, continue to increase the visibility of the G League, continue to market our players.
And the marketability is huge, and like you said, the growth of it, and just giving players more options, right? Look, it's a new crop of young kids growing up, right? And so that typical path just to college isn't the same for everyone, and there's different ways to get to the league. And I think this is why we were so excited for the draft, to see this young talent that had developed in the G League now get their chance on the NBA level. And to that point, I would love to just talk more in terms of the NBA G League's just association with the NBA. Let's talk about some of the success stories as it relates to not only the G League players finding their way, as you kind of alluded to, but also how the G League has empowered minority part ownership, which I think is huge, especially African-American part ownership within the G League organization.
Yeah, well, if you look at, in Atlanta, we have 2 Chainz.
Yeah, which is huge.
Yeah, overall, you have Michael Jordan with the Bobcats. In DC, you have minority ownership. Both ethnically minority ownership, but also women ownership with the logo. So we, again, as a league, just a league of opportunities, whether it's a league for our players to grow and develop, but then also business-wise and in our communities to be an opportunity to branch out, to make sure that everyone is involved.
Yeah, everyone is involved, and I think that's right? We want everyone to be able to have a seat at the table. I think that's what the G League is helping to do. We already got a question in from the fans, so I'm going to go to it. Shareef from Jamel Cutler. Do you feel the Ignite team can lead the charge for the next era of prep to pro players?
Yeah, I see that, really throughout the G League. I think the Ignite program is a great illustration of it. But more and more, if you look at the G League, this is happening. You see somewhat of a youth proliferation throughout our league, right? Where just younger and younger players are coming in our league, either leaving college, early, coming directly into our league. But more and more, you just see young players, across our league, and you'll see it with Isaiah Todd this year if he gets some go experience. But you see it, throughout our league. Ignite is a great example of it, and we're really proud of what those guys have accomplished.
As you should be. Again, everyone in the G League should be smiling for what they've done thus far. And let's now touch on your experience more, having formerly served as the director of player personnel for the Sacramento Kings and the GM of the Reno Bighorns, the Kings minor league affiliate. How much did these particular experiences, let's say, get you prepared kind of for your role now as the NBA G League president? And kind of what's your introspective of being around basketball for your entire life almost?
Yeah, I think they've all, from my playing career, the roles that I held with the Sacramento Kings, running the G League team in Reno, my educational background, and finishing school with Berkeley. I think all of that. Before I came over to the G League, I served as vice president of basketball operations within league operations for the NBA. So all of these experiences, I think, helped mold me and grow me to being in my current position. And sports for me has, just always been a great example of how people come together, how we work together. All the same, that the competitive nature of it, that brings out the best in what we're trying to do. And I've enjoyed that. The G League has been a blast. It's also been challenging.
Yeah.
But, I'm enjoying it. I'm learning a lot, and I think I have a lot to offer.
Yeah, if you're learning every day, you're doing something right, Shareef. And again, you do have a lot to offer, which is why you're in that position. And something you touched on is that sports brings us all together, which I think it does. But I think also something that we've seen kind of more recently is kind of the divide in sports that's happening, kind of centered around the Black Lives Matter movement, Shareef. So do you feel like sports also has a great platform to kind of make us have these necessary but uncomfortable conversations as a country and as a world as a whole?
Well, we become relatable, right? Like we relate with our sports stars, our heroes.
Right.
And, sometimes that takes off of the mask of what's different. And when you hear someone that you look up to and you admire, sometimes you forget, oh, this person is an African American, or this person is a woman, and you can hear them. You just kind of hear their message, and from that, these changes, the things that are important in society, I think have a platform to really go mainstream and really reach audiences that in many cases they wouldn't reach, because our athletes and folks that people look up to have this platform that reaches beyond just their community, beyond just their ethnic group.
Yeah, and like you said, everyone can look up to you all. And sometimes when people do just see you as that athlete figure that they want to be like, right? Y'all have these superpowers that the rest of us wish we had, Shareef, right? And so like you said, it makes us look at you all, like you said, on that different level. But I do think, again, sports brings us together as a whole, but it also, again, makes us have talks about what's happening in society, which I think is very important. Jamel has
I think it's great. I think what this generation of athletes have done. Maybe that in my era of performing, we didn't do as much. Is kind of speak to the issues of the day. I think we were a part of community, but really be a part of change and calling for change, demanding change in a more visible way. So it's great.
Yeah, and to that point, that's what Simone Biles is making us do right now, right? If they're talking about the Olympics, now mental health, we're trying to normalize, and we're having this conversation, right? I think it's something we've been trying to normalize in society. And so I think when we see someone like Simone Biles, who I'll say has had just the bravery and the courage to do what she did and put herself first and say, I need to take care of me first, right? In order to be the best athlete that I am, it's making the rest of us realize again that athletes are human beings. Some people, for some reason, Shareef, don't realize that, right? And they kind of put you on this different pedestal. But again, it's making us have these conversations that are necessary as a society, not just in sports.
Yeah, okay. and you don't realize, I don't think people realize the pressures
that she faces and that you all face.
Yeah, that you face and that you're still, you're still living your normal life. So I think in the last couple of days after the competition, Simone came out with some of the personal things that were going on in her life.
Right.
People would just expect you to kind of compete and push through those things. And sometimes you're able to.
Yeah.
Right? And we celebrate that. But I think we also have to celebrate, when we have to pause and stop and say, hey, I need a minute. So, I think, I commend her for, having the strength to do that. That's tough.
That was big. It was big. And again, I think she's going to give a lot of people courage to also come out and say, look, I need to put me first and I need to take care of my mental health because it's important. Because look, we all want to be here as long as we can. All right, Shareef. So everyone's trying to take my job because they're bringing in all the questions. So I'm going to go to some more from the listeners and the viewers. This one's from Anthony. 2-part question. What are your thoughts on the NIL? And do you think that it will have an effect on the Ignite team?
Yeah, I think NIL is great. I think it's, way overdue. I have a son that's a student athlete, and I think it's one great education for young people to just understand and start to understand their brands and how marketers see them, how they can activate. In broader, just the opportunity that they have as young people to take advantage of, in some cases, folks that won't turn professional, play in a professional league, but have this opportunity while they're in college, maybe don't have the opportunity to work and have a job, but have celebrity, have a platform, and want to be able to leverage that, take advantage of that. And it should. I don't think there's another platform, industry, business that prevents or doesn't allow people, that makes money, that doesn't allow people to take advantage of that. So that's great for young people. I think it's healthy. Again, like the for Ignite, I think the intention of the Ignite program through the G League was to give young people an option.
Right.
And if Ignite is right for them and in their journey to reaching their goals, then we're excited to extend the Ignite program to them. And if they want to go to college and now they have the opportunity to take advantage of name, image, and likeness, that's great. And it shouldn't, it almost makes it a smoother, cleaner, more transparent process because, a young man shouldn't feel like he has to turn professional or he has to come to the G League just for monetary reasons.
Right.
So I think it's a positive.
I think it's also a positive. And like some people would say about time, Shareef, right? I mean, you are a college athlete, you know what it is, the grind that they've had to go through. So why should they not be able to capitalize off their own marketability, right? Colleges and universities are. Going to another fan question. This one is about the stories of Lenny Cook, James Lang, and help with the creation of the Ignite team.
No, I think the kind of the impetus for the Ignite team was really these, like in this era, these young men that were taking gap years, quite honestly, they were going overseas. They were really looking for different options to what our traditional route to the NBA would be. In those examples in the past, we've always had really fantastic players that for whatever reason didn't reach their potential. You kind of wish you did have a program like this for them at the time, but really our programs just came from the idea of just seeing young people looking for different opportunities.
A different avenue for them to still ultimately reach their goal of obviously playing in the National Basketball Association. And Shareef, the Olympics are going on, so I want to touch on your Olympics experience because like many people want to be an Olympian, but not all of us get to be one, Shareef. It's an experience unlike any others. Let's talk about the 2000 Sydney Olympics. You were a member, of course, of the USA basketball team, which featured the likes of, and everybody knows those, Vince Carter, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Jason Kidd, Gary Payton, Tim Hardaway, the list goes on and on and on, right? Alonzo Mourning, just to name name a few. So let's have you talk about just your experience at the Sydney 2000 Olympics and just some of those memories, Shareef, that you hold on very dearly.
Well, the memories are, obviously opening ceremony and seeing all the different athletes and carrying their flags and dressed in their, country's garb, and seeing them, celebrated and just seeing so many folks from different places, seeing, athletes before their stardom. So you walk around, you see young, the young athletes, like even before they get on the field and show what they can do. And really being with our teammates, we spent a lot of time together. One of the I think misnomers of the NBA, at least during our time, was that everyone was friends, and the opportunity to just be around, Lonzo Mourning, Kevin Garnett, Jason Kidd, guys that but you don't spend a lot of time with. My wife and Steve Smith's wife became really good friends just from the experience of the Olympics, and then obviously supporting the other athletes. We would go to the women's games. We would go, watch table tennis, track and field. Those are our best memories. And then, winning a gold medal. That's something.
That's up there, Shareef.
Yeah, you can't take that for granted at all.
Yeah, again, just great memories. And then just staying on basketball. With that being said, let's talk about just your initial reaction in person down under at the Sydney 2000 Olympics when you got to witness the insanity, right? Half man, half amazing Vince Carter defy gravity. We all remember him gracefully soaring over France's 7'2" center, Frederick Weiss. What was your thought when you saw that in person, Shareef?
Well, you get really excited, and it's one of those things where in the moment you don't realize what you saw, and you're like, did he just? Oh, well, he did just, So it was one of those. Really in the moment where you're, you're just really surprised. You really astounded. You can't believe what you saw. And I've known Ben since high school, and I've seen him do all kind of spectacular things, but that by far, you never expect that. And we see 20 plus years later, we're still talking about it. So we understand just how special.
Yeah, that moment was. And look, basketball will forever be grateful for him. And then just staying on the games, staying on the 2000 Olympics in Sydney, how would you describe the fanfare? What type of arrival did you all get from the people in Australia? Was it very welcoming? Were you true celebrities? Let's talk about that.
Well, I think it's two parts. When you walk around, and you're meeting people, folks are just big fans of the NBA. I think, however, we dominated basketball for so long, and I think it was in my opinion, it was probably the first example of like the rest of the world catching up to us in basketball. If you remember. It was either Yugoslavia or France, but it was where we almost lost. Like we lost at one on a missed shot at the buzzer. So you also get this pull of because the USA has been so dominant in basketball
so long,
people want to see you lose. So you take that burden as well.
Yeah, I think our team is probably facing that right now, right?
You accept it.
Right. It's just part of the package, right?
Yeah,
it's part of the package. And just staying off of that, this year also marks the 25th anniversary of the now legendary 1996 NBA draft class, which of course featured yourself, third overall pick, AI, who of course in this area we loved as a Georgetown guy, Stephon Marbury, Ray Allen, Anton Walker. The list goes on and on and on, right? But I would love to just kind of let's recount that night if you can, that 1996 NBA draft, your final season in college with the California Golden Bears. What was that like for you, Shareef? And can you believe it's been 25 years now?
No, it makes me feel old when we're celebrating. I feel old. It goes so fast. I was telling the guys this year to like at some point in the night, like pause when you're in the arena, pause and like take everything in because it goes so fast and everything becomes a blur. And like the last parts I remember, then Commissioner Stern calling my name, walking up the stage and shaking his hand. And then after that, I think my next memory is like being back at the hotel in the lobby. And I have a great picture with my family, my brothers and sisters and my mom. And everyone's around my dad and, a picture of us in our Grizzly hats. But it honestly is like a blur. You wake up the next morning, you're headed to Vancouver, you're headed to, your city to, meet everyone. But it goes fast. You have to stop and really, be intentional about being in the moment.
Yeah, a moment in time I'm sure you'll never forget. I'm glad that
and Kelsey, I'll tell you, I would say, I don't think anyone thought like our class would be that remarkable, that legendary. You had Allen and, guys like Ben Wallace, Malik Rose, Steve Nash, like guys that were really good that you forget. Kobe was the 13th pick in our draft. Jermaine was the 18th pick. Kerry Kittles, like it was, it really was a phenomenal jazz that all of those guys should be celebrated.
Yeah, I agree. The whole entire draft class. And like you said, no one knew at the time, but lo and behold, time has told us just how great that you all were, and basketball will forever be grateful. And look, sports fans will forever be grateful for you all. And just talking about your NBA career, media and fans alike have sometimes called you underrated as a player. So I want to touch on that because in light of that, just with your versatile skill set, namely your fine ability, which you play both forward positions adaptively, and your slick ability to put the ball on the floor, right? And just everything else you've done. 3-point territory. Basically, I'm bragging on you right now, Shareef. I want to ask you, do you feel as though you would have been more suited to play in today's NBA? And do you think you could have played today's NBA game regardless of what you've achieved in your remarkable career?
Yeah, I do. I think the pace and the style of play, I think would have suited me.
Yeah.
I think what would have been different is when I, as a young player, I played small forward, my first 6 years. I would have never played in this game. I would never have played small forward. I would have started as a power forward and probably even played a lot of center the way we play now. But definitely, the game continues to evolve and grow, and you celebrate that. I enjoy watching our game, watching our players. But it's fun. It's a fun style of play. I think our era was one of my welcome to the NBA moments was playing against the Knicks for the first time, and Oak gave me like a forearm to the hip, and I literally felt it for about 2 weeks. But
coming from him, not surprising.
No doubt.
But again, just touching on your NBA career, you also played against Chicago Bulls superstar Michael Jordan, right, in your rookie season, and of course against LA Lakers icon Kobe Bryant, may he rest in peace, on multiple occasions, and also perennial NBA All-Star LeBron James. So touching on that, in your opinion, what kind of separates, would you say, these three superstars and icons in terms of their difficulty to defend and neutralize and basically emotionally frustrate you?
Yeah, they're different. I think they're really they're different. And I thought, in my time playing against Jordan, I thought, everything was, in a lot of ways, at least against us, it was, probably in, tighter spaces, more efficient, in spots, the way they played him catching the ball, in spots and being really efficient and intentional about, what he was doing. I thought Kobe, his package, his game was a lot more expansive, and he kind of opened up and started doing more. And probably was the front end of the wave of like kind of bigger guards being creative and scoring in multiple ways. And then like LeBron is just such a different player from probably unique in a lot of ways from anyone we've seen before, with his size and strength, his ability to pass, create, score. I mean, all phenomenal. Talents and players, and again, like we get caught up in this, wanting to compare. And,
I was going to ask you about that. What you think about this GOAT talk?
Who's the greatest? And so I don't. My father, he told me, when I was a kid, he loved Oscar, and he's like, you can't say, you couldn't say this guy's the greatest because of Oscar or because of Kareem. And, I missed Oscar. So I've always kind of lived, it's really hard to, guys that even in those three, it's hard to say who's the great,
Right.
Kareem is all-time leading scorer in the NBA,
and that's just facts.
Right? So, it's hard, but I think we have to do it, try to do our best to celebrate greatness, because there's a young kid, hopefully, that will come and play in the G League before he reaches the NBA.
There you go.
That will be fantastic, right? It'll be fantastic, and we'll talk about him on that stage one day.
Yeah, in terms of their greatness. And I'm glad you kind of put that to bed, because I feel like it's a debate that people always like to bring up, Shareef. But look, everyone was great in their time period, right? We always try to do this go talk. I think people just like to start arguments and fight, Shareef, quite honestly.
It's fun. It is fun.
It's good though, right? It's all in good fun, all in good fun. And also something that has become a part of sports is when we're talking about religion and faith. So I would love if you could just talk about, being a devout Muslim and kind of just, what that was like for you playing in the NBA. I think we're seeing the growth of it. We're seeing prayer rooms coming in NBA rooms. We're having, again, conversations about this. And really, I'd say the American society, Shareef, kind of understanding not just the Muslim culture more, but overall, we're getting more international players in the game and understanding like their cultures and their backgrounds. Do you think we've made enough progress in terms of supporting that faith, Shareef, in the NBA?
Yeah, I think, again, for me, what sport has always done is been this, like people to people,
right,
connection and a way of getting to know, other people. I played with a guy, Brian Big Country Reeves, and he was from Gans, Oklahoma, small town, maybe 200 people or so or something, right?
Yeah.
And me from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised as a Muslim.
Yeah.
Like getting to share with him and explain who I am. One summer he came and spent a couple of weeks with me at home, but him getting to see the way I lived, the way I grew up, me understanding him and the way he lived. What you get and what sports does, in my opinion, it kind of breaks down these barriers and it really allows us to see the commonalities we have. So for me, I grew up in guys like Kareem and hearing his name, or like and hearing him and seeing him and hearing about him fasting during Ramadan. It made me and encouraged me to not be self-conscious about it. And then I tried to do the same thing throughout my career. So now you have guys like Enos Cantor who's doing the same thing, and I'm proud to see that.
I think it's good. And like you touched on, that education that kind of comes from sharing that culture. I think that's what you get through sports. That's what you get through having teammates. That's what you get through sharing locker rooms, right, with other people. You get to see their background and learn their culture. But again, y'all are playing for the same team, right? And so it's just learning about the people. And I think, I think that education is becoming American, and we're kind of catching up with the time. But like you said, Inez Cantor and what he's doing. And again, I think it's great. And I think the league is moving in the right direction when it comes to faith in sports. And also to that point, I would love to just hear about your family's overall experience of Ramadan this year and kind of the sacrifice of the sacred month, especially during COVID-19, right? I know COVID-19 kind of changed a lot of things for a lot of people, but how did you and your family celebrate?
Well, it was, it's always a, time of the month of Ramadan is always a time of reflection, a time of sacrifice, a time of remembrance. And I think what this year did and what it forced you to do, like slow down. So, usually, I fasted Ramadan in the middle of an NBA season, in the middle of training camp. So it's like you're doing it and you're trying to keep up your same pace of work. And people all around the world are doing that. And I thought, this year you couldn't, the last 2 years you couldn't. You had to stop and you had to slow down.
Right.
We were, shelter in place, and, it really ended up being, for a lot of people, whatever you were doing, good family time and a way for you to reconnect with your family.
Yeah, which is important. Like you said, I think COVID kind of made us all slow down, right? And just, again, realize the simple things, but the important things in life. And I think we all got to spend more time with our families, spend more time at home. Shareef, sometimes some people are having a hard time having to go back into the workplace because they got real comfortable at home. And we found kind of new ways to work and even new ways to communicate, right? Like much like what me or you are currently doing right now on this show, right? So again, like you said, it's time to slow down, the time to reflect and just really reconnect with what matters. I love that you touched on that. And speaking of which, reconnecting with what matters, I love that you touched on your son earlier. Let's talk about Jabari and just how proud you are of him, not only as a basketball player, but just more importantly as a man and as your son.
Yeah, Jabri.
I'm sorry.
He's doing great. I'm extremely proud of him. Both. So I have a son, Jabri's 19. My daughter, Somaya, just turned 17.
Yeah.
So both of them are doing great. Both, young student athletes. He is going into his sophomore year of college at the University of Georgia.
Georgia, the dogs, right?
Yeah. And excited, and to see him, one, just continue to grow as a young man and learning and educating himself, and then the dedication he puts into what he wants to be really good at, and the resilience he has to demonstrate through sport is awesome. And then my daughter, as a rising, she's a volleyball player, so as a up and coming volleyball player and the work and effort and excitement that you see in her. So in both cases, as a parent, you really just want to see your children have the opportunity to fulfill their dreams and to work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. It's in some ways it's more fun than actually going through it. And more anxiety. Parents know this.
Yeah, just a little bit, right, Shareef?
You learn more about them than you did yourself.
Yeah, you learn a lot through fatherhood. And I'm actually happy you touched on that, Shareef, because let's just talk about what you learned about the experience of being a father, right? And also to that point, I think we have a lot of narratives about Black fatherhood, but, raising a son, raising a daughter in today's climate with so much going on in the outside world, and you're trying to protect and shield your children, but you can only do so much, right, Shareef? Because they also do have to experience reality. What have you learned about yourself kind of through the fatherhood process?
That I probably worry more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
That it never, I think as a parent, you think you get to these different stages, like, okay, I wait, as a baby, I can't wait till they start walking and do these things and they'll be, really self-sufficient. And then I can't wait till they become teenagers and they can do these, and, really in each stage becomes these different kind of challenges and things that, keep you up at night, have you, have you worried, concerned, but ultimately, you kind of go back to and have faith in the things that you teach them, the things that my parents taught me, and you believe that in the moments where they have to make decisions, in the moments where they're tested, with really difficult situations, that they will remember kind of the things that are most important, their integrity, their faith, being good to people, and then hopefully the example that you as parents set. So I had that in my dad and in my mom, and you try to be the same way for them.
You try your best, right? But like every parent's different, and I'm sure you're doing a fantastic job. Love hearing about Jabri and your daughter and just the greatness. I'm sure your daughter's enjoying all the great volleyball that we've also had during the Olympics, Shareef.
Yeah, she's really she's really enjoying it, and what she's done is like she's like teaching me, and it's amazing. One like funny story is like the men were playing. Early in the Olympics, the men were playing. I call her. I was like, come watch the.
Yeah.
And she stops and she looks at her. I was like, oh, it's the men. I don't want
I want the women. I want the women's sports, right?
I was like, okay, well.
She's exciting about the Olympics.
She's educating me. She plays like outside, like left side, outside, and she's like educating me on the techniques and all of the different positions and strategy of volleyball. So it's a lot of fun.
Dad has to know, right? When my dad's in the stands, he has to know everything that's going on when he's cheering for me. I absolutely love that. I think a bond, especially between a father and a daughter, is so strong. And so it's great to see that you all have that connection. And before I let you go, Shareef, again, just staying on the topic of fatherhood, this year was difficult for many parents, trying to explain kind of all that's happened, right? So we saw the killing of George Floyd. We saw January 6th, and we're seeing the trials that we're kind of going through. So as a parent, did you have to have any difficult conversations? Police brutality is another conversation that many Black fathers, Shareef, are having to have with their kids. Is there any advice you could give to parents when we talk about that? When you're just, again, trying to prepare your kids for real life world and be real with them, but also you're a parent, right? And you're loving and you're caring and you're just trying to be the best example for them.
Yeah, you have to, have those conversations. I mean, it's so relevant, so direct. I think in the cases that we've seen, the George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, is so direct. And I think what I've loved is how attentive and how interested my daughter is. Like in the middle of COVID, wanted to go out and protest. My son wants to being a college athlete last year, wanted to have a conversation with it, like that, like what should I have some position? Should I say something if asked about these things? So in this, it encourages you as a parent to like also be involved and your perspective to be pushed and challenged, because honestly, like the way young people think and how involved they are is a lot different. Yeah, no doubt.
It's promising. It's a bright future. And again, you're dealing with young players in the G League, right? And these are conversations I'm sure they're wanting to have, right, Shareef? And look at you.
And we tried to have even, with our Ignite guys, we had, we talked to them, last year. I think one part about the program, and I'll say this, that is overlooked, is, we pay for all of them to go to school. So part of their contract with us is that they have tuition paid for, whether it's now while they're with us or in the future. And then in addition to that, we do a lot of programming around just what's going on in society and relevant information, whether it's around volunteering, education about voting. So all of our guys, Jalen and Isaiah, that were registered, that were eligible to vote in the United States, we made sure they were registered to vote. So we try to make that a part of all of the conversation. It's such a big part of what our NBA players are about. And you see the stance that they take, and as our Ignite players, as they and our G League players overall, as they become a part of the conversation and matriculate to the NBA, we want them to be prepared to be a part of those conversations.
Yeah, making sure they're prepared. Shareef, it's been such a delight and pleasure to have you. What's next for you, Shareef? I know we started recording early. What you doing next?
Well, get ready for next season. We got to get ready for next season. All our teams back in their markets, so the go back in DC.
Yeah, we're excited.
Ready to play in New York and California, but just preparing for next season. The summer is actually really shorter than you think it is.
It goes quick. We're already in August, which is like, where did summer go, right? It feels like it just started and now it's wrapping up. But excited to see the G League. Shareef, so much fun having you. I appreciate your time on the show. And thank you for starting your morning with us. I might have beat you before you even had your first cup of coffee. So again,
Kelsey, you really did. The go-go woke me up this morning, so I'm good.
Good. See, I made sure we had you energized for the rest of your day and the rest of your meeting. Shareef, thanks again so much for joining the show.
Kelsey, thank you.
Awesome. Everyone, again, you all hearing from Shareef Abdur-Rahim. Appreciate his time. Again, check out the NBA G League. Lots of great talent. You guys are excited already about the Ignite players, and we are excited to see what the G League players that were drafted will do in the NBA this season. All right. Have a great one, Shareef.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back at 6 p.m. All right, for our NFL pregame show, right? Before the Hall of Fame game, you guys are not going to want to miss that. I'll be joined by none other than Sean Allen and Stacey Elliott. We are in for a great show. We're talking Cowboys. We're talking Pittsburgh Steelers. And yes, we're talking football because it is finally here. Again, do not miss out on that 6 p.m. sharp back on Listening with KNN. And I hope, again, Shareef, I appreciate his time and giving us 40 minutes this morning to talk basketball and, of course, just the future of the NBA G League. So I see you all back 6 p.m. Don't miss it. I'm telling y'all, lots of fun. Your official pregame show before the Hall of Fame. And if you're in DC doing it live from Swahili Village, the consulate, come out and say hi. Let's talk. All right. Football is finally here. I know many people have been hitting me up. Just super excited about that. I will see you all later. Have a great day until then. And of course, continue to stay safe. All right. Bye, guys.
Follow Kelsey on social media at The Real K Nelson. Catch episodes of Listen In with KNN on YouTube, on air at AM 1340 and 96.9 FM Fox Sports Radio, on Facebook and Twitter, and online at KelseyNicoleNelson.com. Thank you for watching this live stream broadcast of Listen In with KNN.
Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio now offers official Kelsey Nicole Nelson apparel in a variety of styles for men and women. Fashionable shirts, leggings, hats, jackets, and more. Order now and get 15% off and free shipping. Just enter promo code KNN. Get your Listen In with KNN wearables today. And check out Listen In with KNN on Fox Sports Radio with Kelsey Nicole Nelson.